Today we're taking a look at definitely not XCOM, well definitely not James Bond, and definitely not XCOM, the board game. It's Earth Under Siege, Flashpoint. Earth Under Siege, let's take this buddy off. Oh, right, because it comes apart in two little boxes. This is the minis box. Earth Under Siege is a stealth dungeon crawler. You're going to go through a number of missions, a number of campaign missions, and sneak your way past the enemies until you can sneak no longer and you have to come out guns a-blazing. You're fighting off a secret alien race. It doesn't matter, but the stealth portion of it is great. This does stealth significantly better than Burn Cycle does. It's the truth, and I will explain mechanically why as we go through it, but first, I want to look at what's inside the box. What's in the box? What's in the box? Well, in fact, there's two boxes. There's the first box here when you're unboxing it. This first box here is just the minis box. So you'll get a bunch of minis. If you got the World Killer expansion, they give you an option for additional minis, and you got a few trays there for all the baddies that will appear on your board. That was the box, I swear. And then you'll open up the next section, which often you will find the tokens that you can punch and unpunch. You can see that I've punched out some tokens. I'm leaving the other tokens there. I'm essentially using the token pads. I forgot to put them in the box last time I was playing the game to pack them up. But I'm essentially using the token cardboard as a token organizer. There are so many tokens in this game, and this does not have an adequate token organizer. And I find that very annoying. And unless you have an incredible insert designed by an incredibly brilliant person, seriously, you should check out that down below if you have the game, especially if that's designed for the World Killer expansion as well, to get everything in and effectively stored. But then you'll have a spot for a few of the tokens that you're going to use to set up the scenarios. You can see a couple tokens that I didn't put away last time effectively. You will have this sheet, which you can use to keep track of some of your HQ stuff. You don't really need it. You'll have a couple large bosses if you want to face off against, that's a certain mode. This is a track to keep track of if the alarm's going to go off. And then you'll have these big old rule books. You have a huge campaign book filled with a number of different scenarios. They're branching path scenarios in terms of which way you want to go as you proceed throughout the game. You have the rule book. You have your character sheets, some places to store your cards, some additional places to store your cards, and then one well for all of your tokens, which I find just infuriating. So infuriating. Anyway, I also have kept one specific type of token, the door token, down there. And then there's a space for some cards. Anyway, I wanted you to see the box as it comes out, because then when I'm talking about storage solution later, you can see kind of how it has been assembled and put together. But in the meantime, I'm going to set up, and I'll come back to you when that's done. So we are set up on on one scenario. I just played through the scenario. I set it up and I said, yeah, I want to play this scenario. And so I played through the scenario. So you see certain things have happened to me, but let me break down the essence of the game. You and your team of people will start at an insertion point. There will be a campaign that will describe how everything is set up, evil people to include in the setup, any specific objectives that you have to do. And you'll have a number of missions. You can see that they're labeled Mission 2B, 2A. This is Mission 2B, essentially, that I just set up, where we're going to cut the supply lines. You'll set up this thing, and generally you will pick one character per player to be your operative. And then if you're playing solo, or if you want to add an additional squad mates, which I did, each member has a squad mate side. You can see that it says that it's a squad member right there. This squad member doesn't deal with having a deck of cards. So every player, so I was playing as Billy as my main character, Billy the Sniper, has a deck of these cards. You can see that this is just the starting deck, but also because this is the second scenario that I was just playing, I've been able to add in a level 1 card. These are the amount of cards for the 6th character. You can see like Hicks, level 1, level up to level 3. So there's a nice variety of cards that you're going to get to swap in and out of your deck if you're playing this as a campaign. I don't think you need to play it as a campaign game. I'm not playing it as a campaign game because I like mixing and matching the characters. And in a campaign game, you kind of stick with the same character. If your characters ever get knocked down, they are captured and you have to rescue them with different special ops missions, which is also kind of fun. If your characters ever get wounded 5 times, they retire and you can never use them again for the rest of the campaign.
A campaign is broken down. There are essentially 12 missions of a branching story path in the campaign, but you've got a ton of these additional special op missions as well, which you can do as side quests. There are 25 of them. So all in all, you get like 25 plus 24, 23. You have around 48 scenarios in this little campaign booklet, which is great. 48 different map setups, all in just this base game. They also have a World Killer expansion, which adds in some additional stuff. I don't have that here. I'm just covering the base game, and I think the base game is more than enough, really. Anyway, so you'll start in your extraction point, and the core of this game deals with these action tokens. So every character has 6 action tokens. You have 3 sort of order tokens, and you have 3 movement tokens. And it's a free-form style of play. You will take one of these tokens, boom, that's a movement. I then move my person 1, 2 spots on the board. Or you can use one of these as an action token and do any of these actions listed. There's 11 actions total. You can probably guess if you've played Dungeon Crawlers before at the style of actions that you can do. Most of these actions will revolve around attacking or interacting with points of interest around the map. So you'll see on this map in particular, there are security cameras which can be hacked. There are laser grids which have to be disabled. There's this light box where you can smash it and turn the lights out for the rest of the mission, and then it makes it easier to pass stealth checks. But the flow of the game resolves around using these tokens. Now you see you have 6 tokens, you can use all 6 for a really awesome, incredible turn, but at the beginning of your turn, you can only refresh 3 of them. And so as you play the game and have an awesome, cool turn, then you're limited a little, not really that much, by what you can do later on. That's kind of the flow of the game, and then the enemies will react. Now you'll see on this main board that there are some sort of green blips and some yellow blips. And these indicate enemies, well, I'm gonna move over here actually. These indicate enemies that haven't been seen yet. These yellow blips are on patrol and they'll move closer and closer to investigate either where you dropped in or where you've been making noise. And these green ones just kind of stay there until you see them. And that's one of the really exciting parts about this game is you know that there's some intel, you know that there are people around the corner, but you don't know what type of people. You'll see that I've laid out 4 cards here. They've got some minis on them, but these are the baddies that you will be facing. And so anytime you move within line of sight of one of them, you'll flip up a spawn card and get a card that will describe who is spawning. Oftentimes it will just spawn a villain. You'll see that this is a number 4. And it tells there are different 4 initiatives that might get swapped in and out as you go through the campaign. These cards will be replaced by other cards. But in this one, you look, okay, we're playing with the Dominator, so we do this effect as well. Operatives with all tokens discard some attack focus tokens, which I will tell you what focus tokens do in a second. Here you get this unknown threat where you would roll a dice, one of these dice, and you would spawn the lowest initiative basic enemy in the display. So in that case, if I had rolled, my face was hiding what I rolled. But if I had rolled that, I would have spawned these Vormok grunts, who spawn in groups of 3, and that's their attack stat. They don't really have any defense stats, and then these are their additional stats as well. So we take these Vormok grunts and we place them on the board. Now currently they haven't seen us, because when I moved in there, I also get to roll a stealth check. Every character is broken down into like their attack stat, their defense stat, their science stat, and their stealth stat. Billy is the bomb, and he's got a huge attack stat and a huge stealth stat because he's a sniper. So I went and stepped right in front of them. I will roll these 4 dice because I get 4 dice here with the stealth stat. I have rolled a 3, and we check based around their perception. Their perception is 2. These grunts are stupid. They didn't even see me. If they did see me, they would get this little token to show that they're aware, and that means that I have to kill them before the end of the round, or else they set off the alarm. And whenever the alarm is set off, that means bad things happen. More troops start to spawn. Bad things happen at the beginning of your turn. Bad things happen at the beginning of your turn anyway, but the worst things will happen at the beginning of your turn. And so it's good to remain in stealth while you're ready to take them all out. They will eventually come upon you though, and if they move into your space, of course they'll have to do another stealth check, and this one is a little bit more difficult. Their stat was 2. Now I have to roll a 4 to not be seen, but luckily I was still not seen in their space, and that's good because I need them to walk on through if they were still doing their patrolling so that I can run away this way, or so I can turn around and attack them while their guard is down. There's a lot of specifics of gameplay that I'm not going to overwhelm you with. The standard dungeon crawler stuff, like everyone has a specific weapon which has a range showing the spaces at which you can attack. So for Billy, because he's a sniper, he can't attack when he's in his space, so he just had to like blend up against the wall and then wait till they go through, and then he can take the shot, right? There are fun rules for noise that if it happens, say I destroyed this thing, there would be a noise check, and this guy would become alerted and start patrolling and move towards where that noise was. There are a lot of fun ways to interact with the system. There are also a lot of fiddly rules that every dungeon crawler kind of comes with, and things that you will miss. This player cheat sheet is not enough for all the things that you will miss. I wish that there were a lot more player aids, because there's a lot of checking the rules and checking for specific instances and specific triggers. There's a lot of ways that you will forget to activate some of these abilities. For example, this guy has a defense ability where you can't re-roll dice. And re-rolling dice is huge because sometimes you don't have the optimal operative in the right situation. But with this being over onto the side in a different display, and when you're just getting used to the game and you forget that's how this guy functions, it's easy to miss these little things. So there are a lot of fiddly things that happen. However, there are a lot of really exciting things that happen as well. A lot of things that are really cool, really intuitive. I love how they deal with the noise checks. And the noise check, sometimes your weapon is creating noise. And it's a very simple count of, oh, I've created noise. I count 1, 2. That's a 2 noise check. If there's anybody within that vicinity, they would come investigate to check out the escalation tokens. Or a noise token would be put on the board, and if it's not, then I'm safe, right? There are so many ways where you can feel really stealthy. There's a mechanic called Overwatch, where you can put yourself into a position and feel really cool. When a patrol comes by, you can instantly attack if anybody crosses your path, right? Or you can post up outside of a door and then have somebody else open the door and shoot through the door in these instant combo kills, which I was really enjoying playing this scenario with combo of Billy and the sniper and the science officer. It was a really cool team of hacking into some systems and Billy just posting up because he had this awesome trigger on his sniper, where at the end of the operative phase, if no enemies have line of sight to you, you go into Overwatch. And so he's perfectly situated to post up, wait for a patrol, know where the patrol is going to go, and then when they appear, deal these devastating attacks that he can also combo with his cards. I think that's really cool. And I think the best part about this game mechanically is how they deal with non-turns. Now, this is huge in a stealth game. In a stealth game, you have to wait and you post up. Sometimes not moving is the best thing to do, strategically the best thing to do. Sometimes, if you're playing with Zach, you won't ever not move and he'll just run straight head first into a group of units as a super sneaky assassin and blend into the background and not ever get noticed and then attack them with a bunch of swords, whereas your team leader will just walk by, fail the first stealth roll immediately and set off the alarm and make the situation all the worse. But oftentimes you will have these non-turns where you set up for the next round and you're planning that out using these actions. And how Earth Under Siege deals with that is the concept of these focus tokens. You can see on everybody's board it says the starting focus is I get a attack focus and a stealth focus. And the benefit of these focus tokens is if you are taking an ability that uses those tokens, so if I'm attacking or if I'm stealthy, I can spend a token and I can add a super powerful red dice to my hand. And so say I was attacking, I have 4 dice as my base, I get an additional dice, my silenced rifle, and then I use the focus token to get an additional dice in case I really have a tough check. I'm facing this Dominator who I need to hit 5 in order to do any damage, and he's got 2 health. This indicates the threat level, aka the number of people who are playing the game or number of characters that you're running. And so I really want to add those dice to my hand. And then you roll them, boom, 7, I've done the damage that I needed to do. But these focus tokens are so powerful, and I think they are so integral to passing the checks Now, in this scenario that I have set up, we only have basic enemies that are out there, which is a bit of a bummer because the red enemies are a lot harder. So this scenario that I was just playing, I found was maybe the easiest out of all the ones that I've played, and it appears third in the book. But like as you get up, this hunter killer, you can see that he would have 7 health and have a defense of 6. And when you're only rolling 4 dice, 4 ordinary dice plus maybe 1, that's a really hard thing to attack. Now, you obviously wouldn't face that guy completely early on. They scale it based upon where you are in the system. But I think the addition of these focus tokens make it feel so satisfying to build up for the next turn. And it also interacts really well with your deck of cards. So every card is broken down into an effect that you can play, and you can usually play these in response to something. And then if you pay this additional focus token cost, you get to do a super great thing. So for this one, this is one of my favorite cards, especially when you're dealing with clusters of enemies. This is a 2-for-1 attack. Before making a non-area ranged attack, target an additional enemy in the same zone. Apply the results to both. But when you have 3 people in the same zone, right, target 2 additional enemies in the same zone instead. By paying this, you can knock out like 3 people in one shot. And knowing that you have this card in your hand, and choosing, okay, I'm going to discard this card to get that focus token into my pool, and then play this off. The combos that you can do by adhering to what your deck wants you to collect, I think is really cool. I also like that most weapons give you a focus token once per round. Essentially, you'll tap your weapon and you'll get to roll this black dice, and there I would get a stealth focus token, right? You can always add a token that doesn't match for an additional white dice, but these red dice are just so powerful compared to the checks that you're trying to make that it feels so important to have. Also, the idea of going into Overwatch also supports that idea. You would normally spend a token to go into Overwatch, and that's why you have this little token, this Overwatch token, that you'd flip and say, I'm in Overwatch. But just whenever there are a lot of patrols, having that surprise attack on these people is really pretty fun, especially if you can take them down in one shot, which Billy has a card where you play it and you deal an additional 3 damage if you hit. And so that deals with some of the big bosses. You have to spend 2 action tokens if you took it normally. I'll just pull it out so you can see. This one right here, 1 shot, 1 kill. But if this is not an Overwatch attack, you have to exhaust 2 to play this card. But if it is an Overwatch attack, and you've planned for it, you're lining it up in your sights, it feels really, really thematic, and it feels really good in that busting down the door, taking the shot, eliminating a section of enemies, and then moving on to the next section, then moving on to the next. And these maps so far have been designed in a pretty simple way to understand. Of course, I've only played through the initial first 3 scenarios. I played the first scenario with 2 players with Zach. We lost because the alarm went off really early and we just got swarmed. And then I played it again, and I played both sides of the branching paths of the first scenario in terms of what games I have played from this game. And I did all those solo as well. Because I wanted to see a little bit more, I wanted to experiment a little bit more, I wanted to get the rules more firmly under my belt so that when I return to this, I don't have to worry too much. But yeah, this is a stealth game done correct. I love how this deals with the stealth aspect. I think it makes you feel cool on your turn, and I think it makes you feel cool even when you're not doing things, which is so important. So I'll compare this a lot to Burn Cycle, or I guess Assassin's Creed. I worked through the entire Assassin's Creed campaign as well. I played that entire game. I have a review on that. I didn't really enjoy my experience. I found it just kind of dipped as it went down. As you went through the campaign, it kind of got a little bit samey. And I guess this could get a little bit samey as you're going through different scenarios. But I love that I don't feel like I have to play this as a campaign. And in fact, I think I would prefer not playing it as a campaign for a couple reasons. I'll talk about the campaign in a second. There's a lot to go through. But I want to talk about the stealth because I think that's the most important part of this game. That is what attracted me to this game. And so trying to scope out who the people are, you need to get the intel on what enemy you're facing before you just run in and face it. That's number 1, which is exciting. And so revealing them is exciting. And then the focus tokens and the implementation of the focus token and the being on point, or in Overwatch, that's also another really fun aspect of the game. And so I think this really nails it for the stealth that I want. So in Burn Cycle, there was a sideboard, a kind of side game where you're hacking into the mainframe system And that was implemented because you had to have non-turns and you had to have something to do on your non-turns. And I just felt like it was there just to be there. You know, I wasn't particularly interested in that puzzle. I didn't think it really added that much to the game. I still think Burn Cycle is a great game, and I also think that this game would be served by doing the chip theory model and using chips. A couple members of my Discord said that at one point, and I agree with them having played through it. Again, being able to have all of this information on the figure would probably benefit the game, although you maybe would need more keywords to reference each one of their abilities, so I'm not sure. But the fact that what you're doing on your turns is tactical, it enables you to get yourself into a better position, enables you to use those actions, and because the actions feel powerful, they never feel wasted. Right? You're not just wasting actions to switch things back and forth between your backpack and just because you can. No, you're spending these actions gearing up, ready to be like, okay, I'm adding ammo into my gun because I'm going to really take a great shot. Or I'm surveying something and doing my stealth squats in, like Skyrim, so nobody can see me. I think the stealth part of this game really, really shines. I think the action element of this is a fun thing back and forth, although it doesn't quite give you that much, what do I do? I only have 3 actions. It's kind of obvious in terms of what you want to do, but I like that there are these action tokens that occur and how you manipulate them. I think that's neat. And even the looting aspect feels fun. So I think I need to talk a little bit about the campaign aspect of this game and the differences in terms of playing it in a one-shot version. You saw that I pulled out this HQ level thing at the beginning. I said, you don't really need to worry about it. You don't if you're not really playing the campaign. The HQ, like any campaign game, you will get rewards at the end of a campaign. So let's look at the end of campaign number 1, episode 1, right? This is your first mission, Counter-Strike. You've gone through, you've read the briefing, it's kind of cheesy, and you get some rewards. You get 1 base upgrade, and you get 1 tactics card. So tactic cards are simple. You get to look into your deck, you get to pull out a card, add it to your deck. You can remove a card. You can only remove it at that moment. Whatever. The base upgrades that it refers to are this HQ that you're doing. So essentially, you can then choose how you upgrade your experience. There are certain cards in the game. These are called strategy cards. At least I think they are. The terminology, there's so many different cards in this game, and the terminology is like it's not written on the cards, so you always have to reference the rule book, which is annoying. It's like, oh, what's a strategy card? What's a consequence card? What's a special ops card? It would be better if all of them had this. Like, this is a trauma card. That's why it says trauma on it, you know? Just for that introductory period where you're not sure what all the iconography and nomenclature of the game actually is. But anyway, you have a strategy card, which you can then upgrade, which will give you a better ability that you use in this scenario. Some scenarios will specify what strategy card you use. On this one, I used Breach and Clear 1, which allowed us to like move quicker. We all got a free movement. But then Breach and Clear 2, you can do an attack, right? It gets a little bit stronger. So with this base, you can upgrade those strategy cards. You can also upgrade this armory, which I think it would be the first thing I would upgrade if I was playing this as a campaign, because the searching for gear is fun. Maybe I wouldn't. You probably would have to as you go through because the enemies are going to get a lot more intense. And the only way that you can keep weapons is by upgrading the armory. Otherwise, you always start with your starting gear. So I found this friggin' bomb alien weapon, which you have to unlock. But I had my science person unlock it. And my science person also had an ability which gave her an extra red dice every time that she used this purple weapon. So it was very satisfying to go find it on the map and pull that out and unlock it. And so not being able to start the next round with that would feel really cool. The med bay just helps you remove wounds, which are really bad because wounds give you injuries, and injuries are permanent bad things that you have to keep on activating. They just stay in your deck forever until you heal them. So it's pretty good to make sure that you come out of this game not wounded. You're really hurting as the campaign progresses. Another reason why you might want to do the campaign is because that difficulty will help it ramp up. But you could also modify that in a scenario-based game. The training room will add additional cards, which will make things easier. And then the Psi Lab and the Weapons Lab mean you add tokens to this bag, this Valor bag, which you draw from every time you kill a unit of enemy. So sometimes it's 1 enemy, sometimes it's 3 enemies. It's a simple little HQ step if you want to keep the same character moving forward, but also in the campaign book for every scenario, they'll tell you, hey, assault mode, HQ level 1, right? Assault mode, HQ level 2, right? Or they'll say specific things like assault mode, HQ level 1, each operative gains 2 tactics cards upgrades for this mission. Not add any tokens to the Valor bag, right? So there's ways at which you can just, it'll tell you how to progress yourself. I think looking ahead a little bit more, there could be more of that as you go through. There could be like, hey, add 4 different cards, add 3 different cards, whatever. But it would be fairly easy to not do the campaign mode or to kind of have to do the campaign mode. For me, I'm torn. I'm on the fence in terms of doing the campaign mode or not, mainly because I like how the operatives play in a different way. And I like, if I'm playing through this solo or if I'm playing this one-off, I kind of want to just choose my operative for that mission, depending upon what other people want to play. You know, if I've gotten Billy no mates and I've tanked him up all the way through, and then I get to a place and people want to play, I'm like, yeah, let's just jump in and play scenario 8 in the story. And they don't have as fun of a deck, or they have more of a support character. Like they have Commander Hicks, who sucks, whose cards are all about like, hey, help somebody else reroll. Hey, help someone else draw a card. Hey, help somebody else do this thing. And you don't get to do any cool things yourself. So Zach was running around doing great things as the assassin. I was like, hey, you want to reroll? Oh, wait, we only spawn Vormok heavies, so we can't. So I like that aspect of being able to mix and match the characters and not worry too much. Although there are some fun things that will happen in the campaign, mainly these tokens you can upgrade as well. So that kind of seems fun. You'll create those upgraded tokens. You get really attached to your character. I think you can play it either way. But I genuinely like that it's not a campaign game, and maybe it not being a campaign game and me not thinking of it as such will actually help me get it to the table more. So that's what I'm going to do with my own mindset, really. So those are a lot of positives I feel I've touched upon. Let's touch a little bit upon the negatives. Number 1, first and foremost, is the insert is trash. It's garbage. It's not usable. It's better to take out this bottom box. Is better to just take out this bottom part, which I think I'm gonna, and just have it empty. In this day and age, having one well for all of these tokens, all of these different token types, it's infuriating. Like, I've been trying to keep it on this board so that, and this is what you should do for a lot of campaign games, so that at least there's like a semi-organized manner. But then putting these things back into the punch board is also really annoying. There's no reason when the campaign was so deluxified and there was care thought into like the minis box and the minis organization, there's absolutely no reason that you should need a different insert. Now again, shout out to Hextra. If you've got a 3D printer, go check this out. This makes me want to get the World Killer because I know it is designed for that and the World Killer, and actually might make this thing usable. The main problem here is the sheer amount of different tokens and the amount of setup time that it takes. It took me as long to set up the scenario as it did to play the scenario. And that's just not acceptable. You know, that prevents a barrier of getting this to the table. And I love how snappy it is, like boom, 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 boom. It was really fun to have such a snappy experience. And this scenario, honestly, was the quickest out of all of them. So the other ones were a bit slower. But to be fair, they were slower by being bogged down of checking the rules and checking to make sure we were doing things correctly. But once you get this up and running, it can go pretty quickly. However, the setup and teardown time is just absurd. And no thought has been put into the setup and teardown time for optimizing this bot. And that's unacceptable in this day and age. It really is. This is something that can be fixed, something that probably won't be fixed in the expansion or the current Kickstarter, because you already have the product, you already know how to ship it out, etc. But this is something where you're going to want to just throw it all in the garbage and create your own, buy something from the dollar store, a couple token organizers, and go from there. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to elastic band or put in boxes all of the different characters and have them as like additional, hey, pass out and start up. I'm going to have my own token organizer because I can't deal with this solution anymore either. I'm just gonna have my own token organizer that I get from the dollar store, and I'm gonna just call that a day, throwing out most of it, which is annoying. It's very annoying when this happens, and and I'm annoyed because it is a barrier to get this to the table, and I'm annoyed because I want to get this to the table more and more and more because I really like the game, right? That's where that feeling comes from. If it was a bad game, I wouldn't care. I wouldn't have to worry about the insert because it's just a bad game. It's not. It's quite a good game that I like a lot. But the insert is just ridiculous trash, and it makes me quite mad. Just because of the sheer amount of token types, which, hey, let's look in the component count to go through it together, shall we? The game tiles, yeah, you're going to do whatever you can. Although some of these game tiles, and now I'm going to destroy the board in front of me, but that's okay. Like this, it says, ooh, put A1 there. But let me show you A1. Now be careful, because that's different from A2. And be careful, that's way different from A4. And I want you to keep your eyes peeled, because it's different from A5 and A6. Now B has a different side. Oh, but be careful, you don't want to confuse that with A3, right? So sometimes in the naming conventions of the setup, that's a bit silly and annoying, and you can just kind of throw down whatever corner piece you want to construct this map lightly. But yeah, we were talking about token count. Let's check these out. We have 24 action tokens, which is different 12 and 12 because they're different. Then we have all these different upgraded action tokens. Then we have all these 5 different focus tokens. We have Overwatch tokens, 15 of them, some for the enemies and some for the people. We have damage tokens. We have the standard blips, which these are double-sided, so that's nice. We have the elite blips, which are double-sided, which are nice. We have a special blip for a specific objective. We have soldier tokens and technician tokens, because some games have the technicians who are watching the cameras that you can go and kill, and then the cameras don't work. It's great. Then you have different types of objective tokens. We have 63 different map tokens, all boiling down to, like, this is a deploy point 1, right? You have seven different special player tokens that you want to access. Then there's some barricade tokens. Then there's, 6 different negative conditions that you can throw on. Then you can be wounded. Then there can be portals. Then there's a ton of Valor tokens, although those can just live in the bags, that's fine. Then you have the upgraded Valor tokens, which they say, yeah, keep off to the side. You won't need them until you're going through the campaign and you're upgrading them. Then you have the special Valor tokens, which again, you keep off to the side. And then there's these all clear tokens when you're playing with squad mates because they give you a little bit more flexibility. It's an enormous amount that there needs to be an organizer for. Just, there it is. I'll stop harping on that. That's number 1. Number 2, if you care about this sort of thing, the variability in the minis and the readability of the minis isn't that great either. Because here we have, a sort of World War II guy, who I guess is an alien, but he's a World War II guy in this. I guess the World War II people are the ones bringing the aliens in. I don't know. We have a guy with a gun. And then here we have a guy with a gun. And then here we have a guy with a gun. And actually, these two are the same. So the only identifiable characteristic of like, oh, different sculpts mean different things? No, these have different sculpts. So they're actually in the different category, but they're the same category because they're both on the Vormok fire team. And this matters because if you can't spawn enough figures, you move on to spawn the next type of monster, so to speak. And then, hey, don't worry, we have another guy with a gun. Oh, wait, that's Billy. Sorry to confuse you. There are some other fun people later on, like the guy from Stranger Things, or this is their coolest mini right here, this kind of abomination style guy. So you will get a couple of them out. But I think, again, this could have been, this is maybe a moot point if you're a painter. I'm not really a painter. It would be great to have different colored plastic specifically for, like, the level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, because you're only ever going to play with one of the kind. I don't know. I just feel like it would have been great to have some more variability in the minis and the sculpts, because it also would have been great to have more readability in the sculpts, or even having anything to indicate which sculpts go to where and not having them spread over 3 different trays when they're the same sculpt as well. Have I mentioned the organization's awful? Fire whoever you hired to do it, and hire Hextra instead. Anyway, those are minor quibbles about the production and about how to interact with it. I'm really glad that I played more games as well. I think Commander Hicks is just no fun at all, too. But I think all the other characters are pretty fun. So it's fine having one character that you should just never play with, but I don't know, I just thought he sucked and I had no fun with him. And I had a lot more fun when I got to do cool things on my turn as well. I like supporting people. It was fun being able to support people. But maybe Commander Hicks is somebody who you want in a 4-player game when you are teaching 3 people the game. And even still, the amount of like power that you can do on your turn versus the amount of power that you can add with Commander Hicks, it's not going to happen. I was like, I can help you reroll. Oh, you've already killed him. Okay, cool, cool, cool. But I can give you, do you want to draw a card? Oh, wait, no, you've already wiped out all those enemies. Okay, cool, cool, cool. You know? So Commander Hicks sucks, but everybody else is pretty fun. I like the amount of cards that you get, and I really like the flow of the game. I think I'm going to stop there. Otherwise, I likely will continue to repeat myself. For a final score, I'm quite enjoying this game. I like how tense these rolls are. I think one aspect that also I wish maybe was a little bit different is maybe being able to turn off the alarm. When you get a bad roll initially, you just get a really bad roll, because it happened to me in the first game. You can just get a really bad roll for your first stealth check, and then the alarm's on for the rest of the game. You know? And so while I like being able to mitigate these with discarding tokens to reroll and discarding cards to reroll and whatever, that felt really punishing in the first time that we were playing. It hasn't happened since, and maybe it's just because I know how to mitigate things now and to be prepared for things, but these white dice can be punishing. They have 2 sides, don't have anything on them, and so it can be really tough if you just fail some initial rolls. But I don't mind that. I like the scale of it. I like the difficulty of it. Although, to be fair, when I figured out how to do it, after that first initial run, things were very easy for my next playthrough. Which I'm gonna blame solely on Zach. No, I'm gonna blame not having Commander Hicks in the team, really. Commander Hicks is no team leader. He sucks. I don't know. Anyway, final score, I'm gonna give this a solid 4 out of 5. This is a seal of approval for me. I really enjoy this game. I want to delve into it more. I like the minimal upkeep in the campaign phase if you want to continue that. And honestly, on this run with Billy, I was like, you know what? I could go all the way with Billy. I would be fine going all the way with Billy. But I like being able to mix and match with different characters and see their different decks. This loses marks for the amount of overhead that you need to be involved with as a player. I think it needs to have a few more cheat sheets around rather than having to always reference the rule book. If there was a glossary cheat sheet, maybe. If there was the Valor token cheat sheet. I don't know. I think some characters are just straight up way better than others and way more fun than others. Maybe that's my specific playstyle. I do like that you have to roll mounds of dice, especially when you're hacking into things. But the tension of hacking into something and not hacking into it on the first try versus the tension of not killing that baddie or else the alarm's going to go off is wildly different. And so it gives you sort of a wildly different tension of character, and that kind of leans into some characters being more important than others. And so if you don't want that, especially in a full campaign, you don't want somebody getting to do all the cool things and then you going and hacking into the system. I think there might be a little bit of a disconnect there. But overall, I think this is a great, great game. Maybe it's a 4.5, but I'm going to leave it at a 4 just because I've only experienced those sort of initial steps of it. I've only played those first 3 scenarios out of 48, but there's so much more to discover. So it's a tentative 4, but could be like a 4.5. I think this is a really good game. I think this is the best stealth game that I've ever played. I absolutely would turn to this 9 times out of 10 over Burn Cycle. And I like Burn Cycle. Like, I think Burn Cycle was good. I'd probably give Burn Cycle like a 3.5. Makes sense why this is higher. But yeah, a really, really great design. If you like dungeon crawlers or you've been intrigued in having a game that deals with stealth aspects, I think this is absolutely one to check out. And I think the more I play this, hopefully the more I will continue to enjoy it. I see it going on that upswing, right? I don't want to anticipate that sort of upswing going and overscore it, but I can definitely see it moving up because I think it's great. I think it's really fun. I think there's a lot of really neat ideas in here, and once you get those under your belt, you get a really tight stealth experience that makes you feel cool. You know, it really makes you feel badass. It makes you feel like you're hacking into the system, and that's what I want from a game, and it provides me pretty much everything that I would want from this feeling. Like, I feel like I've infiltrated a system. I feel clever that I've waited and haven't just rushed in. The turns are also really snappy. The things that you do are great. I love the free-flowing turn structure as well. So yeah, this I think by the end of it, it'll be maybe a 4.5. drop down in the comments at some point, maybe updates as I play through and play different scenarios and whatever. I think the barrier to me getting this to the table is is very significant because of the insert. If that was more thought out and I could whip this out and pull it out and just set it up in a breeze, I think I would turn to this quite frequently because it gives you a really cool feeling and is just a great game. So I'm super stoked, super happy. Thanks to the Earth Under Siege team for sending this my way and letting me try it out. I was really excited to do so, and it did not disappoint. Like this was a pick on Crowdfunding Countdown on a big week, and I thought this looks really cool. And it hits and it delivers on what it says it will deliver. And I think that's great. So yeah, I'm really torn. I'm gonna stick it a 4 out of 5 for now, but just know that like there's room to grow. No, you know, I'm gonna give it the seal of excellence. It's 4.5 out of 5. I really think if I think mechanically, I don't have too many issues mechanically. I think there's some imbalance in the characters. I think that there's a potential for it to get samey. But I don't know, I think it's going to build up and I think it's going to ramp up. I think there's going to be more patrols happening and more opportunities to attack and be stealthy. Yeah, it's 4.5 out of 5. I think most of my issues are not with the game itself. And so knowing that, my issues with the game itself are fairly minor. So that's why I got to bump it up. So anyway, I hope this review is helpful. I know I've been talking for a while, but there is so much to cover and so many little details that I haven't even covered. And then I want to say, oh, and then there's this, and then there's this, and then there's this. But I think I've captured the pertinent points as to what is enjoyable and what is not as enjoyable. Commander Hicks. And hopefully this gives you a decent overview of if this game is right for you. So thanks so much for watching. My name is Chris George. I don't have a catchphrase, and I got some cleanup to do.